Hello, and welcome to the Rock and Roll Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and on my right-hand side is my right-hand man, Gabriel. And today on the Rock and Roll Podcast, we have Halysis, who has a new album called Cerulean, which is released on May 15th. Right now, I'm being joined by what appears to be the important members of the band to share some more information about what they've got going on. So, boys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely great to have you on. Now, just so that we are all aware here out in podcast land, who is all on the call? If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Samuel. I'm the drummer of the band. I also did the mix for Cerulean. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Jose. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah. My name's Jose and I play guitar.
Yeah, I'm Santeri and I also play guitar.
Beautiful. All right, so we do have all of the important people present.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of.
Pretty much.
Beautiful. And I just love the fact that there's a drummer who's like, and I also did the mix. Like, how many drummers out there are doing the mixing for your band's album? Like,
yeah, I don't know. You know,
he also did the vocals. He also did the vocals of the record.
Wow. Did you do the master as well, or just the mix?
No, I didn't do the master, but Jamie King did the master, who is known for doing a lot of stuff for Between the Buried and Me and The Contortionist and stuff. But I did the mix, but I don't consider myself as a professional or anything. But yeah, it was fun.
Well, it sounds professional.
Well, thank you.
It also sounds fun.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Now, speaking of professional fun, let's chat about this track, Frailty, which doesn't sound like a really good track title. But, I mean, I guess you guys are pretty heavy death metal, so I guess it kind of makes sense. But what is the Frailty? What is this track about?
Well, the story of the album. So it's a concept album, and it kind of follows this main character. And without going too much into detail about the story, it's kind of the low point of the second act, so to say. So that's pretty much all I want to say about it when it comes to the story and the meaning behind the track. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Well, there goes the whole interview because I'm supposed to ask questions about the story, but you're not going to give me any information about the story. So, okay, now I have to try and, like I'm chatting with a politician. Okay, I understand you didn't answer the question, but now we're going to play this game. So, Cerulean is a concept album, and Frailty is the low point of the second act. So, how many acts do we have in the album?
3. It's pretty basic story structure. I mean, I see it that way. I'm not sure about the rest of the guys, but to me, it's the low point, and pretty much from there we go to the climax of the story, and that is the title track, Cerulean. That is kind of where we all wanted to like end the story, was the title track.
Okay, perfect. So then I guess if you were to take us through, because we've got 3 acts, so very Shakespearean of you. Now, what does the arc of the story look like? Do we have a protagonist? Like when you say it's the low point and the high point, is there a protagonist?
Yeah, there is a protagonist, and pretty much, well, how do I put this? It's a guy or a girl. It's a person who has the opportunity to like see what could have been, so to say. That's pretty much the most vague way I can put it.
Well, you are known for your vagueness.
Thank you.
I bet he's good with the girls because he's so vague. They keep some,
Damn straight, man.
Yeah, keep him on edge. Will he ever come back? I don't know. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know how the girls think. Beautiful. Sweet. So we've got this. So actually something that I wanted to mention was, I'm looking at the tracks in order, and Frailty is track number 8, and Cerulean is track number 11. So I think what strikes me as very interesting about this particular story is it takes quite a long time to get to the low point, but from the low point we get to the climax or the zenith or the highest point very quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is just kind of the nature of the story, I guess. It's how we wanted to tell it.
Yeah, we didn't plan that to be just as it is right now, but we just felt that Frailty is good where it is right now in the album, so it kind of fell in place pretty quickly with the story. So.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Now, I guess when it comes to the idea of the story, did you guys, when you guys got together to create the album Cerulean, did you say to yourselves, we want to make a concept album that's very Shakespearean, it has a protagonist, but instead of Hamlet, there's actually a good story at the end. It's not a tragedy. It ends on a high note. Is that a Finnish thing in Finland? When you guys have classical stories and folklore stories, do they end on a high note?
Mostly no. I think they're pretty sad, like Finnish stories. Like they're real melancholic and stuff, I think. That's what I was thinking.
I don't have very much exposure to Finnish literature, and I know that you guys are not at all related to Russians, other than just from across the water a little bit. But I've studied a lot of Russian literature, and it's awful.
Yeah.
It's like, my life sucks, it just sucked some more. Could it suck even more? Oh, it did, and then I died.
Well, actually, it just kind of told the story of the album in a way.
Yeah,
that is actually a way, I think, a legitimate way to look at the story. But it's pretty much the way you interpret the ending is pretty much up to you, because even if you die and like meet your demise, it's pretty much just the way. I mean, we left it open for interpretation just because we don't want to like take that from the listener. If you're like super into like reading lyrics and stuff, we don't want to take that away from anyone, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and people will come up with them things. They'll be like, "This is a recipe for cheesecake. How did you guys do this?"
That would be awesome.
Yeah. And I know this recipe for cheesecake is speaking to me.
Exactly.
Sweet. All right. Now I'm looking at the definition of cerulean, and it is a shade, which is a dark blue shade. Azure is another word for anybody who's into their color palette out there. Or maybe I've just got, tied. Like, it's not a color, it's a shade. Okay, whatever. So, I mean, how does that tie into the concept, maybe lyrically? Why is it called cerulean? What is the cerulean part of the story?
I think I made up the cerulean thing. It kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know where did I actually get the word cerulean for this, but we kind of took this idea of something powerful and meaningful in the story, and we kind of put the cerulean or the something mysterious blue thingy to be the powerful and mysterious thing in the album. So it's kind of vague thing. It's hard to explain, but yeah, there was like no exact idea or meaning behind the bluish cerulean sky blue thing.
Okay, cool. Now, between these two tracks, Frailty and Cerulean, they sound kind of different. I'm trying to remember. I can give them a quick listen as we're chatting, but if I remember correctly, Frailty opens up with some shredding of some kind, and Cerulean is kind of more stompy, a little bit groovier, a little bit heavier, like I should be drunk and smashing glass.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when we're chatting about the album as a whole, what should we expect from the album? Is it kind of similar to these two tracks, Frailty and Cerulean?
Well,
I think there's like plenty of styles like combined. Like if you compare, like you said, Cerulean and Frailty, they're pretty damn different. But there's like even more like some songs are like progressive and some are much more like linear, like in their structure. That's really like what we wanted on the album, like many kind of songs, pretty much.
There's a variety of different styles on the album. That's what makes it special to us. It has a bit of everything.
Yeah, so since we've got a couple of guitar players on the call, and they haven't eaten each other yet, like two hamsters in a cage, My question then is, when you guys were working on the album, I mean, maybe take us through a bit of the writing process with regard to, the guitars. Were you guys trying to push the limits of how many different genres you guys could include? Or is that just kind of like naturally what ended up happening when you guys were working on the record?
It's always natural for us. We kind of make the music we want to hear. I think that's fair to say. We don't have a certain goal when we start writing a song. Like Frailty, we had the basic idea of the song, like the main riff and stuff. But me and Solomon Sandere just sat down on our practice phase and pretty much just brainstormed the rest of the song. And it came out the way it did. That's probably because it's one of the craziest songs on the album. So we kind of just had no limitations on the riffing. There's not really a chorus or a verse. It's just kind of part after part and just a couple of crazy solos. I think we never have a plan when it comes to songwriting.
Yeah, that's true. Like we just kind of like make our songs. Like sometimes it's Jose who makes the riff, and then I make the next one, and it goes crazy all over and all over, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there also must be a guy who says that sometimes this doesn't work and this doesn't work.
Yep.
So
I hate that
we
guy.
kind of have a God damn it. Yeah, we have a kind of good balance in that, and yeah.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned that there's, a couple of songs where we don't really have a structure like verse, chorus. It's just one thing after another. And I always enjoy hearing that perspective from drummers, because a lot of times drummers kind of get caught into patterns and think, okay, well, that crazy riff is coming up, so I know I have to play this, or that chorus is coming around again. I know I got to play this. So from a drumming perspective, how did you treat that?
I think it's really, really awesome to you have to still, and as a songwriter, also the flow must be good in the song with the drums and with everything else. So we kind of meshed up the parts, like when the second main riff thing comes again, then there's like vocals again, like on top of that, when in the start there is no vocals, and then you kind of mesh up the things. But from a drummer's perspective, I like the variety and not playing like on a drum machine kind of script all the time. Verse, chorus,
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to be careful that you don't mess everything in the same song. So, but yeah, I think we managed to do pretty well on the new album.
Yeah, I agree. And then also as well, since we've got the mix engineer on, I wanted to just kind of ask a similar question with regard to when you sat down to do the mix.
Mm-hmm.
What did you have in mind?
That's kind of hard question, because all that I had in mind was that kind of pressuring myself that I have to, make this sound good somehow, because I'm a, beginner and I have to look up tutorials on YouTube and stuff. So I didn't really, that maybe restricted a little bit about my creativity in the mix. But in the end, I think I got it to a point where I just had to be, pleased of the outcome.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, props to you that you were able to look up, tutorials on YouTube and actually produce something that sounds professional, because I get stuff all the time where I can tell that people use YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. There is a lot of false information and bad stuff there too. So you kind of have to trust your own ears in that sense.
Well, and you mentioned it there. Tom Lord Alge, if you know who he is, legend in the biz, Chris Lord Alge's brother. He has a saying, and a T-shirt even, that his girlfriend made him, that says, "It's not the gear, it's your ear." And that's probably one of the most common questions from beginners that they're trying to search out on YouTube, is not working on their ear. But you just mentioned it right there. Like, you got to work on your ear.
Yeah, and the fact that I don't have good gear at my home. I mixed it in a wrong kind of space with a lot of echo and some annoying mid frequencies. I mainly used headphones for this, so.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, you just have to, try to make it up with the gear you have. So.
Yeah, I know. You're setting everybody up for failure. They're gonna be like, yes, YouTube tutorials and headphone mixing. I'm off to the races.
I mean, it took a lot of. It was not a quick process. It took a lot of time, and the first mixes I did were horrible. But you got to start somewhere.
This is true. I was going to say, if you've got, like, for example, your bass is not out of whack, like everything sounds fine. So obviously, that's one of the pitfalls of headphone mixing is you can't get depth on low frequencies a lot of times. So obviously, you spent a bit of time. And so I think that's a really cool thing that I get from your guys' album is that you guys put time and effort into it. And just like good cooking, it can't be rushed. It's going to take all day. It's going to take Grandma all day, okay?
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Maybe even 2 days, depending on what it is. Jeez Louise. Are there any classic Finnish dishes that it's something that Grandma has to make, like modern society can't do it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Grandma dish. Let's see.
Google up.
That's a hard one.
Damn. It has to have potatoes. Potatoes are really important. That's important. And let's see.
Kind of meat.
Yeah. Like any meat, just mash it in and that's it.
It doesn't matter. It could be bear. It could be elk. It doesn't matter.
That question came out of nowhere.
Well, I just kind of imagine you guys would have something because, like, we're at that trajectory period in society where, and this is, I'm big on this because I'm a chef, but we're kind of at this trajectory period where some of us, because I'm 35, so my grandmother would be in the kitchen all day making stuff. And I just kind of took that for granted. And now that we live in modern society, I just don't see that level of care or cooking being done anymore, in restaurants or anything, because people just ain't got the time, kind of thing. But
it gotta be fast.
Yeah, everything's got to be fast, out of a box and fast. So I was curious to maybe dive a little bit deeper into Finnish culture for a second, because unfortunately I don't know much about Finnish food. Though I imagine it probably ranges if you're living on the coast versus living in the north and whatnot.
Yeah, a little bit. I think like people on the coast, like near to Helsinki, our capital, like they do more fast food, and when you go to the like countryside, they do their own food, and I think there's like could be.
Some differences, I don't know.
All right.
We just eat a lot of fish and pretty simple food.
Yeah, we're pretty simple when it comes to food.
Yeah. I can see. I've got some things here. We've got ruuslepa.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, right bread.
Yeah, leipäjuusto.
Yes.
Kalakukko.
Kalakukko. Yes.
Which sounds disgusting. Korvapuusti.
That's good. That's good.
That's delicious.
That sounds absolutely delicious. Lihapulat.
Yeah, good.
Is that like a Swedish meatball? What is that?
Yeah, kind of like if you know IKEA, like the Swedish meatballs,
Yeah.
That's like lihapulla.
Okay. Oh, gravioli with like gravlax. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, beautiful. All right, well, now that we've gotten lost on food for a little bit, now things are kind of coming down, easing off of lockdown. This episode will air in about a month, so it's kind of interesting to see where things are at, though I think a lot of things are still pretty much shut down for the rest of the year as far as a lot of music events are concerned. But is there any news that you guys are able to share that maybe I didn't bring up, that I didn't ask about, as far as what we might expect from Halysis over the next few months?
Well, the newest news after maybe in the next months, we'll be announcing some cool stuff that we have a new singer coming, joining our group. Since we have been mainly a four-piece band like many years now, so we finally got a singer to join us. So that's pretty big, and then maybe nothing that big will be coming like soon in the future, but I think there's enough celebration in that.
Yeah, we've been looking for a singer for like 7 years, and eventually we got to the point that our drummer had to sing on the album.
Yeah, that was an interesting case, but we managed to pull it off. So
hey, it worked for the Eagles, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, well, I'm glad you guys were able to finally find a singer. I know that can definitely be a real pain in the butt, especially when you start meeting singers and you're like, ugh, why are we doing this?
Yeah, it was a long-term search.
All right, and you guys could have meatballs and rye bread with cinnamon buns together.
What?
Oh, hell yeah.
Beautiful. All right, well, boys, unless there's anything else that you wanted to throw out there or chat about, I just wanted to thank you for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.